So back in the day, when I wore the hat of a child, I attended Catechism at Pretty Lake United Methodist Church in Plymouth, Indiana. And I remember one particular class where Reverend J.C. White was teaching about the history and the sacredness and the holiness of the Bible. He explained that the stories that we read in the Bible today at first were not written down. These were just stories that people told to one another. Later, bits of wisdom, parts of the stories, and some illustrations were put on pottery and put on papyrus. And that was the beginning of the stories being written and recorded. He went on to explain that the pottery and the papyrus were fragile. They were easily broken, easy to tear. Sometimes they got lost, sometimes they got dirty, sometimes they were torn. And at this point in my memory, he must have been explaining how all of these bits and pieces and torn fragments had been found in an archaeological dig, and that they were given to scholars and historians who began to work with them and study them and try to bring them into a larger composition, which would eventually become the sacred holy texts of the Bible. Frankly, this kid just didn't get it. I didn't understand how scraps and shards and bits of torn papyrus could be taken out of the dirt of an archaeological dig and turned into this huge and holy book. And the one I knew about was leather bound, and it had gold writing on it and real thin paper, and it sat up on this display stand on a table on the altar of worship. And I was supposed to stay away from it so I didn't rip it or get it dirty. And that didn't make sense to me, because isn't that where it came from? From the dirt? From bits and pieces that were torn and ripped? And I didn't want to destroy that Bible. I just didn't understand why I couldn't touch it. Why couldn't I read it? Why couldn't I look at the pictures?